right, folks, what is up? What is up? What is going on? A good evening, and welcome into another episode of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike. I am your host, and we're having ourselves a good old-fashioned boys' night tonight, folks. We're having a sausage party up in here on America's Hometown. Boys' night, baby.
Yeah.
Which means I am joined by my fellow co-hosts, Andrew and Matt, which means we are also without Kat, who is taking the night off. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello. Good evening. Still have to find a way to integrate that into the opening, but I promise you it will be coming eventually. But yeah, as always, we have a very, I'm sure this will be a jam-packed episode tonight with a lot of different stuff to talk about and give opinions on. So why don't we jump right on in? And first and foremost, as always, you can find us on various online offerings, including our website, which is ahpod.com. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for America's Hometown Horror and or Hometown Horror Pod, and you will find us. You can also email us at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. And always, reminders that we are now associated with Horror Facts Magazine, which is horrorfacts.com. Great resource if you're a horror fan and you like news, reviews, podcasts, just like ours. Head on over to horrorfacts.com to get your daily fix of various horror things. And as always, it's so cool to be associated with Fangoria. And now if you go to shop.fangoria.com/hometownhorrorpod, as Andrew did over the last week, and you use the promo code HometownHorrorPod, you get a 20% discount. Andrew, you got yourself a pretty cool little T-shirt, huh?
I did. Turns out the T-shirt I ordered, I got sent the wrong one. It wasn't the baseball tee one. So I contacted their customer support, and the nice guy Jimmy Shaw over there was very fast to respond, took care of the order. He's already got it being resent out, so props to Jimmy Shaw if you're listening.
Safe to say that if you do order something from our link from Fangoria, and there's ever an issue with the order, which probably will not be the case, safe to say that you will be taken care of promptly, respectfully, and promptly, respectfully, and get your stuff in good working order, right?
It is a sick T-shirt, though. I did
Awesome.
like it.
Okay. Excellent. So now that we got all the housekeeping stuff out of the way, why don't we jump into our usual things here before we get going with guys, another fantasy draft tonight.
Yeah, buddy. Well,
And
it's the season.
it is the season. We're getting into fantasy football season soon. And the last time we did a couple of drafts, it was just the three of us as Kat, or actually Kat was here for a few of them, but she wasn't around for a couple of them. So I'm excited to be here with you guys. I think this is a topic that'll be a lot of fun to talk about. Absolutely no shortage of items to discuss.
No.
That's for sure.
We won't even scratch the surface.
Yeah, I think we could probably do a 3-hour podcast on this and not even scratch half of the surface of Stephen King-ness. So why don't we go around the horn and just talk about things that we've watched? And Andrew, I'll kick it to you first, as I know that you, after our episode on Nope last week, you did go back for a second viewing. So what were your thoughts on Nope after a second viewing, my friend?
I liked it even more because I feel like you pick up on so many things knowing how the movie ends and like where it's going, dialogue and just scenes. So I thought I always find like the second viewing it's so much better if you first time. I wasn't able to see it in RPX the second time. I will say if you do see it, you got to see it in RPX or IMAX if you have the option. It just makes such a big difference when you see it like that.
So RPX essentially, I think it's just more optimized sound and a bigger screen. Correct?
Bigger screen. I think the screen. I think the quality's much better too. Like the screen quality because watching it set like. I feel like I was watching like a movie from like the early 2000s. It's like that big of a difference, like visually.
Because I remember, I don't know if we see a lot of movies in RPX. I've never really noticed it. This is the first movie where I really noticed the difference. The screen was gigantic, so I guess maybe that's the
Well, I remember when
largest
RPX
difference.
first came out. I think it was like The Hobbit I saw in it, and I didn't like it because it seemed too. It felt like I was like sitting watching a play like live. So there is something with it's like more pixels or whatever per. I don't know the scientific
Pixel.
terms. Oh, pixels and thing. But I will say for a movie like this, yeah, you got to see it next.
Okay. All right. Did you given the in-depth conversation that we had about Nope last week, did you find it like easier to kind of understand what was going on, or some of like what some of the little cues that were
like I thought I understood it pretty well watching it, but it's you pick up on so much more, and it's like just some of like the. I don't want to get into too much spoilers. I'm probably going to not.
Well, I mean, if you haven't seen Nope at this point, I guess, hey, fast forward a little bit. Go see it in
like
theaters
just
like
knowing,
we recommended last week.
Like the scenes that you see before you figure out that it's actually like Predator, like it's living being. Like the shots through the clouds and stuff where it's like hunting. it's so much better watching the second time knowing that. It's just, you get more of that like that Jaws vibe or like that like monster movie vibe. So I really like that because it's legit a monster like hunting.
I feel like the opening credits, like with the shots of the guy on the horse, like that's being viewed through that weird lens, that probably is.
Yeah,
one of the
well,
things
because
I
that's
would've-
the same thing.
yeah.
That's what like it like.
Yeah.
Comes
exactly.
out and, like, attacks them. Yeah,
Pretty cool.
it's awesome.
Cool stuff.
Love it.
And am I of the understanding that you actually were trying to get someone
Trying
that
to get
hasn't
Craig
seen
to go
it, trying
see
to
it
go
for a
Craig?
third time. But
Nothing yet, huh?
nothing yet. We were gonna go tomorrow night, possibly.
What else you been watching? Anything good?
Well, I watched Deep Rising. We'll get into that more at some later point in time. We'll be podcasting on that
Correct.
soon.
Yep.
What else did I watch? Oh, I did finally finish the John Wayne Gacy tape.
Oh, what'd you think? Pretty depressing, huh?
It's not a good finish. The guy was fucked. Like,
Yeah.
Just some of the stuff he says, like he's like, oh, they finally like when they finally got him like pinned down for execution. He's like, well, I still won because I killed 33 when they're only killing me. That's such a fucked up.
just a real
wow.
a real
Well, I guess
piece
by
of shit.
by those numbers, yes, you did win. I guess.
Yeah. It's as the line I've said several times before. It's absolutely not a feel-good barrel of laughs at all. It's the type of thing that you need a couple episodes of like Always Sunny or South Park afterwards. You're like, "Ugh, I feel so icky right now.
Right.
Ugh, my God. Cool.
That's about it.
Excellent. Oh, and I feel like we'd be remiss if we did not ask you about your
my
your glorious
Phantasm shirt.
T-shirt that you're wearing right now, which I actually love the design. Looks like a nice high-quality T-shirt, which
Yeah,
I
it's
believe
very,
you said you got from TeePublic.
TeePublic. Yep. And I also got a Phantasm hoodie because I need something for the fall as well.
You gotta get a long
That
sleeve
was, well, I have a long sleeve Mars Attack shirt coming in.
Yep.
But I do
yeah,
need
that's right.
another a Phantasm long sleeve. Then I could just be fully. Maybe they have like sweatpants.
Now you could
I
have,
get
then you
some
could
of
have a
those.
Phantasm T-shirt, a Phantasm long sleeve T-shirt, and a Phantasm hoodie. You can
Maybe
just
some
be phantasmed out
Phantasm
all the time.
sneakers.
Yeah.
I bet you could find those socks.
You just be a walking billboard for Phantasm.
Phil will be like,
Damn,
what
that
is
guy
that?
is
Yes.
stoked on
That guy is
Phantasm.
obsessed with Phantasm.
Well, I would say safe to say that Andrew's been checking out quite a bit of horror merchandise since our partnership with Fangoria and getting into the apparel
struck an
game.
addiction.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Audette, what have you been watching? Anything good?
I just
Anything
had
of note?
I had a couple rewatches. I did Kevin Smith's Tusk from 2014,
I
which
remember
is
you
just
texting about
insane,
this
dude.
the other night.
And
Movie's so weird.
I didn't, you know what? I definitely didn't pick up that Johnny Depp was.
Guy Lapointe.
Yeah, and the first time I watched it, so it was because Sarah was watching it with me, and she was like, "This movie fucking sucks." She's like, "This is insane," and like it is insane, but it's entertaining, and
I think it's very entertaining.
yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
like the
argue
Johnny
in
Depp
favor.
scenes were very, very funny, and I was looking at him, I'm like, "That's fucking Johnny Depp," and so the ending, it's a crazy movie, and like it works because Justin Long plays such a believable like shitty like dickhead.
douchey podcaster.
Yeah, but like he just like sucks in the whole movie, so you don't really like you almost don't even feel bad for him.
No,
because you're like, this guy's an asshole. Like he's just a piece of shit.
I will say, I've noted. I mean,
Even though his girlfriend's banging his best friend.
yeah, that too. Yeah, Haley Joel Osment, fat Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah,
his
of-
girlfriend.
no
Yeah.
less. Yeah.
oh yeah, I forgot he was in that.
So
Yeah.
it's just weird. I
Big
feel like
fat
I'm trying.
Haley
I'm
Joel
sure there's been more, but I'm thinking specifically of like the first David Gordon Green Halloween and also Tusk, where podcasters are pretty much portrayed as total douchebags.
Yeah.
And as a podcaster myself, I'm a little offended, Hollywood. Let's get some good podcast
He's like the
representation
Haley
there.
Joel Osment after his role in The Sixth Serving.
The sixth.
That was
Dude.
like that joke
good.
into your joke.
Very
That segued great.
Yeah,
that was perfect.
That was
Yeah.
perfect. I was gonna say though, Haley Joel Osment actually had a very good bit part in an episode of What We Do in the Shadows, which I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But I didn't mean to step on your discussion of Tusk, which I actually think is a pretty entertaining movie.
Yeah, it is, and
Yeah.
like it was just funny. Sarah's like, "Movie's fucking insane," and but then we watched Men, and I was excited to give this one a rewatch. Rory Kinnear is so good in it, but I cannot stress that Jessie Buckley is also absolutely fantastic. She has a great, very moving There's scenes in that are hard to watch for sure. In terms of like the arguments she's having with her husband, like that, the flashback scenes are really rough.
Yeah.
I still fucking love that movie. I think it's great. The ending is still just as crazy. So didn't get any less.
I like the
fucked
meme
up.
you sent of the,
Yeah. I mean,
the Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
spoilers for men without any context. Just Ace Ventura coming out of the rhino's ass,
Yeah.
and Ace Ventura 2 when nature calls.
What did Sarah think of that movie?
That one was, she was like, this one, it takes itself much more seriously, so she was like, this movie's stressing me.
Yeah.
And then when
That
it
movie's
happened at the end,
stressful
she's like,
movie.
she's like, what the fuck was that?
I don't get it.
So-
Yeah. Sarah, which she was supposed to come on tonight potentially, which would have been cool to have her. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, right? But that would have
Yeah,
been sweet.
we'll get her down the road.
Absolutely,
So, yeah.
dude, I would
Layla
love to have
popped
her
out
on.
a new tooth. So
that's exciting
She was like,
times.
Is it from the
she was-
Tooth Fairy?
She was pretty fussy today.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anything else besides Tuscan men?
No, that's about it for this
Tuscan
week.
men, not
Yeah.
Italian men.
Yeah.
Tusk, comma, and men. I don't really have a lot either. So I checked out the... It's a show that I just throw on from time to time that I continue to wonder why I continue to watch it. So not the original series, but the anthology series that came out last year that was a Hulu exclusive, American Horror Stories, plural. Great idea. Each one's a different episode, as is the anthology format. Watched the first episode of that, and it was okay. It's got Dennis O'Hare in it, who's a frequent contributor to many seasons of American Horror Story. It had a nice little tie-in to, I would say, I won't give away the title, but if you're familiar with American Horror Story, Season 3 of American Horror Story, which may or may not have to do with witches, but that's a light spoiler, I guess. So I watched the first episode of that. That's coming out weekly exclusively on Hulu, as are most FX-type shows. Also saw it was confirmed today that American Horror Story, the original series, Season 11 is set to premiere this fall, which to that I say, no shit, Sherlock.
They had a trailer for that when I saw them.
American Horror Story?
Yeah.
Or the stories?
Stories.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Cool.
Which one's which?
Stories is the anthology one. Story, singular, is the
Season
season
anthology?
long. Yeah.
Okay.
Season anthology. Yeah, actually, they're both anthologies, but yeah, one's an episodic anthology, the other one's a season-long anthology story. So yeah, God, follow the bouncing ball there. Also, what I was just talking about, What We Do in the Shadows continues to be great. The episode that we watched last night, I was fucking dying laughing.
I got to catch up on that one. I haven't watched any of the new episodes yet.
Funny. So I'll give you like a basic plot line. So early on in the season, Andrew, throw that thing in the fucking trash.
I fucking hate this thing so much.
Jesus
Why is it
Christ.
only me? It only does it to me. Why is my drink
condensating so quickly? So early on in the season, they find a genie lamp for some reason in the basement of the house, and a djinn comes out, like a genie, and he starts being able to grant wishes to Nandor and Guillermo. And so one of the biggest plot lines of this episode that we watched last night is that Nandor is trying to wish for the world's biggest penis. And him and Guillermo are trying to write down all the stipulations of how a djinn might trick you into like making you wish for the world's biggest penis to backfire on you. So they're trying to write down like a contract of like how it just they want it to replace his existing penis. He doesn't want a second penis. He doesn't want a penis on anywhere else but his body, but in between his legs. He doesn't want like an extra penis on the tip of his penis. He doesn't want a penis so big that it's going to be able to crush people when he tries to use it. And it's a nice twist at the end, but dude, it's fucking so funny. And like they finally opened that like vampire club. Naju's been trying to open a vampire club, and it's fucking great. I love that show.
Watch that.
It's so fucking funny. And also, a lot of my last week has been revolving around Shark Week, and specifically the Jackass Shark Week show. Oh my god, it was great.
Was a thing.
So they did the first one last year, and one of the guys actually got bit very badly. The guy Poopies, which if you've seen Jackass Forever,
dude, yeah.
He almost lost his hand.
Yeah, he got fucked up.
And
fuck with sharks.
He was trying to do the Fonzie stunt from fucking Happy Days, where he's literally trying to water ski jump over sharks, and he didn't make it across the jump. He fell into the pit of sharks, and he got attacked. And his one of his bones, every tendon got severed. He had to have massive surgery, like airlifted to the hospital.
Who has the fucking balls?
You think those guys get like crazy good health insurance from
I would
Jackass?
hope so.
Dude, I don't even know how much
their
money
health
they
insurance policy must be insane.
Dude, but the whole focus of the second part, which was aired last week, and I'm sure it'll be on Discovery 1,000 more times. Watch it. It's fucking funny. It's great. Jackass Shark Week 2.0, it's called. The whole purpose of the show is them getting him back in the water with sharks, and he actually fucking does it at the end.
Yeah,
and I
that guy's
cannot
nuts.
believe that he did it.
He'll do anything for a paycheck.
And it was-
Those young kids are all fucking
Dude,
maniacs.
like
dude.
some of the stunts were fucking incredible, and they were so funny. Like it goes a little bit like Beyond Sharks. Like there's a part where Wee Man goes into a tank with an electric eel, like solely to try and get shocked by the electric eel, and he gets it's fucking
They did a bit
so
on,
funny. Oh my god!
Jackass Forever .5 or whatever. Like they
I saw
have
that, like the
electric
making
eel
of
thing,
Jackass
too.
Forever. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. A couple quick news things, real quick. So, biggest horror movie release I think this week is Prey, which comes out on Friday, and I've seen a couple images. I'm avoiding trailers. I think this movie looks fucking awesome.
They changed up the Predator, didn't they?
I looked at it quickly, and it looks a little different. It looks a little bit more like primal, less technologically advanced, because this is supposed to be the first predator attack on Earth, which is why. But like the teaser trailer, I promise I haven't even had that much to drink. Jesus Christ, that I did see. It's obviously it's basically Native Americans fighting the first predator that arrives on Earth. There's also like some early like American settlers that get involved too, and like the predators killing certain animals. Looks fucking awesome, and I do kind of wish it was being released in theaters. Like I would love to see this in theaters and not just on Hulu. Like I'm happy that I can kind of sit at home and watch it for free, but I'd love to like go to the theater and see this. I love Predator movies. I would love to see this in theaters.
I
Are
feel
you
like
going
it
to see
deserves
that?
a release.
Bodies.
That's the one with Pete
that
Davidson.
comes out on Friday too.
I've heard about that. I think
Yeah.
it's getting decent reviews.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I would probably check that out. I'm not the biggest Pete Davidson guy. Yeah, I think he's a douche. He's kind of grown on me slightly. I'm tired of everyone kissing his ass, personally.
It's because he bangs fucking Kim Kardashian.
Yeah,
It's because speaking
dude,
of the
he
biggest
does,
penis in the world.
Dude, I was saying,
apparently.
he must have a fucking hose.
Because he has
he is just
he has black rings around his eyes, so I don't know what that is.
Oh, dude,
That's gotta be
Ariana
called
Grande, Kim
no blood getting
Kardashian.
his eyes salted down his cock.
Dude, Grande, Kim Kardashian. He was dating Kate Beckinsale for a while, which like that's the biggest score of them all. She's
Kate
amazing.
Beckinsale is
My God.
top notch.
But yeah, so Prey comes out this Friday, and also I forgot about Bodies. Good call, Matt. Also in news that is Halloween related that may only interest me, but I feel like I had to share this with the world. So General Mills announced yesterday that they're bringing back Frute Brute for the first time in like 10 years, which is like the long lost sibling of like the monster cereals.
Frankenberry.
So there's like Count
Blueberry.
Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry. What's the other one? There's a mummy one. Fuck, what's the mummy one? And there's Frute Brute, which I guess is a fruit-based cereal with like a werewolf as the character. So you'll be able to get Frute Brute on shelves.
never
Supposedly
had
it's
Frute
out
Brute.
now. The only place that I've found the Count Chocula cereals early is Target, and I feel like you have to wait until at least like September. Because that's where I got my Count Chocula last year, and that's where I got the Monster Mash.
Does it only come out?
Anniversary
Yummy
series.
Mummies.
Yummy Mummy. That's the one. Yeah. So Yummy Mummy and Frute Brute. But I think they're all
There's
available.
Crispy
this
Creature Crunch.
year. Never even heard of that.
It looks like Creature of the Black Blue.
Oh, how have I never heard of that? I love the creature from the
Fruit
Black.
Brute, yeah, it's like looks like Trix almost.
I mean, I like tricks, so cool with that. But yeah, Frute Brute. If you're looking for Frute Brute, you can find it apparently this year, which I guess from what I was reading on Bloody Disgusting, is one of the most sought after products by serial collectors out there.
yeah.
So, dude, hey, I think it's pretty sweet. If you don't, fuck you.
It's official. The critics' decision is in. Spooky World is spooktacular. Enter the new black hole. If you dare. Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. Phone the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200. It's America's horror theme park, Spooky World.
Don't be scared. I'm the super sweet monster with the super sweet new cereal, Count Chocula.
Biffle, here's the super sweet new cereal, Frankenberry.
But I've got chocolate sweeties for monstrous chocolate flavor.
Well, I've got berry-flavored sweeties for monster strawberry flavor.
Count Chocula.
Frankenberry.
Hi.
Frankenberry.
Count Chocula.
Sleepy Cloud!
It's alive! It's alive!
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's a killer this year. Then be next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
Guys, we are ready to do another draft.
Yeah, buddy.
Do it.
Excellent. All right. So, as I mentioned before, we're doing something a little bit different here. Over the course of this podcast, on various episodes, I feel like a lot of roads lead back to Stephen King because he's such a huge, huge influence on the horror genre in general. Movies, books, TV, everything. You'd be hard-pressed to find even the most casual of horror fans to not have either heard of or seen something or maybe even read something by Stephen King. And I think we wanted to dedicate an entire episode to his works. So not only just his books, we're talking movies here, we're talking TV. I think we kind of came to the decision that everything's on the table here.
Yeah.
So anything that we want to draft
Short stories.
is fair game. Short stories I had as one, too. Comics I had as another thing. So, I mean, he's got a lot of irons in the fire. He's had a lot of his stories adapted into theatrical productions, which not my personal thing. But if one of you guys want to draft that, I will absolutely allow it.
Oh, like a play?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Misery's been adapted into a play.
I've never
which
seen
I have
makes
no
sense.
horse in that race.
I've never seen any
Yeah.
of his plays.
I haven't either, but I know. So I guess those are off the table.
But
Then.
I was just thinking, you know, we were trying to think of a 6 Degrees of Stephen King.
Ah, 6 Degrees of
Oh,
Stephen
man.
King would have been a good thing,
Yeah,
too.
that'd be wild.
We can do that next year.
All right. So I guess before we kind of jump into this, Andrew, I'm going to shove that up your
I'm going to
ass.
shove it up my own ass because it's so fucking annoying.
If I have to hear it again, I'm going to freak out, man.
Can you get some
Serenity
better
now.
coasters,
Yeah.
bro?
Oh, okay, cool. Why don't you bring your own coasters, loser?
Yeah, I just drive around with coasters in my truck.
Anyway, guys, Matt, I know particularly that you are a gigantic fan of Stephen King. So
Yes.
why don't you talk a little bit about your fandom and kind of like your first experiences with Stephen King and how you have become to be such a big fan?
I definitely got wicked into his books when I read It. And that came from not when the new movie came out, but when I heard the new movie was going to come out. And I had like that year and a half of like news bubbling about it. So I sought after that book, and I'm very fascinated with old books. I love hardcover books. I love the original artwork that comes with them. So I tried to get as many of the first editions as I possibly could, and I have all but 2. I have 2 that are book club editions, which look exactly the same, but if you're going to get down to the finite detail, they're not. So
Yeah, I was going to say
it's Carrie and Salem's Lot, which they're very expensive.
Your Stephen King collection is very impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I did find this store in Marshfield next to their library. It's Ocean something bookstore. It's like a non-profit and everything. It's really cool. They have a ton of stuff. But I went in there one day looking for books, and I found a bunch of old Stephen King books. And I was like, no shit. And I was flipping through the pages, all first editions, blah, blah, blah. And so I asked, when the lady came over, she's like, oh, you like Stephen King? And I was like, yeah. And so I bought a few of them. I was like, I'm going to see how much these are, and then maybe I'll come back. And I, went to the desk, and she rang them. I got, 4 books, and she was like, all right, $8. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just went back and grabbed I just clean house. She actually, I would come in every few weeks. There'd be new stuff. I'd get it. And she actually gave me a few copies of her own first editions that she had that were in great shape that she brought in, and the lady was awesome.
She just gave them to you?
Well, she sold them to me.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she was like, I will sell you this one. I have Facebook groups that I've joined. This guy Josh, he actually listens to the podcast, so shout out Josh G.
What's up,
I know
Josh?
some people are weird about having their full name said, so we'll leave
Sure.
it at Josh G. But he sold me some books, not just Stephen King, but he sold me some awesome copies of some Thomas Harris books, and kind of a bunch of other Stephen King stuff too. Joe Hill.
Yep.
So he actually has a page that he said we should share this. So I was like, all right, that'd be sick.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So if you hear this, hello. Go buy Josh's books.
Hello, Josh. Good evening.
Yeah. He has a great catalog that he does once a month with new stuff. Wicked fair pricing. Ships immediately. Dude rocks.
Awesome.
He's a good guy. So, but it's
Sweet.
cool having that like little book community that I was able to kind of come across. So through reading them, and then like even as a kid, I loved all the movies. That's like really where it started, was like watching like Pet Sematary and like Silver Bullet.
Yeah.
It, Riding the Bullet, Rose Red. Like there's so many things I remember as a little kid watching on AMC during Fear Fest when I would come home from school. So it once I got old enough to like more so appreciate reading and be just better at it, like comprehending. Like it's not that they're crazy like stories, but it just as a kid I just didn't want to read a lot.
Sure.
And so it's been a lot of fun to finally get them all and just keep knocking them down as I go. So
Keep tweaking that collection.
yeah, dude.
Yeah, so I mean, when I actually like sat down and thought about this, it was tough to come up with an answer because I feel like he's just always been there in some way, shape, or form in like pop culture for me. Because I grew up reading Goosebumps books, excuse me, and then I evolved into like Animorphs books.
He was like well
dork.
established.
Oh,
before we
for
were all
sure.
born,
And
too,
then like
so
I
he's
feel
just
like
there.
as I reached a certain age and I like aged out of Goosebumps, and I realized that I liked spooky shit. I was just like, okay, I want something that's a little bit more potent, something that's actually going to like scare me here.
And that
So,
stings.
right. So I started reading some Stephen King stuff. Started reading like some like the Amityville Horror, like other random things that interested me, and I think that the movies were more accessible to me at a younger age. But the first book that I actually sat down and read was Salem's Lot. Because my dad, I remember telling me that was his favorite book, and he also by Stephen King, and he thought it was Stephen King's scariest book, which I may be biased because my dad had said it, but I tend to agree with him. I think Salem's Lot is still my favorite, and it's still pretty damn scary. I just hope to God they do that novel justice with that new adaptation that's now coming out next year instead of this year. It was disappointing to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, like
It's worth the wait.
I feel like from then, like my fandom exploded. I love his short stories. When I was in college, I was an English major and I wrote my thesis on Stephen King and basically how his reputation as an author suffered due to all of the crappy movies that came out in the 80s that were derived from his source work, which I had a lot of fun writing. It didn't really feel like work to me. It felt like I was just doing something that I liked to do, and I was getting college credit for it. Which, and I think honestly, like when we talk about a lot of this stuff tonight, like some of these statistics that I have here that I'll burn through very quickly, like there's a Stephen King adaptation for everything. He writes so frequently, and there's so many movies and so much shit to choose from. There was a point in time where people were sick of Stephen King, and I feel like now due very much to movies like It Chapter 1 or like, Gerald's Game or like Dr. Sleep or even some other stuff. There's kind of been a little bit more of a renaissance. Now we're getting more and more stuff that is coming out, whether good or bad. Now, some of those good might be like Dr. Sleep or It Chapter 1. Some of the bad might be the Pet Sematary remake.
Some of his best movies, too, like adaptations, aren't even horror movies.
Yeah.
They're,
like
absolutely.
And
The Green Mile and Stand By Me, yeah.
So what about you, Andrew? Were those some of the things like you were introduced to first, like those types of stories, like Shawshank?
I was a little bit late to the game with as far as horror goes. So I think, looking back, my first experience with Stephen King was watching the Storm of the Century miniseries with my dad when that came out in like 98 or 99. That was the first Stephen King I had ever watched. I was probably 13 maybe when that came out, 12, 13. And then as soon as I finished watching that, 2001 rolled around and Netflix now was finally there. And I would just, you have no idea. You have no way of knowing what any of these are. Are these good? Are these bad? You're just like going based off of, I have no idea because there's no like internet. There was internet, but it was minimal.
Right.
So I would just pick like 3 Stephen King movies, rent them and watch them, and then send them back and get 3 more adaptations. And I did that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So I've seen like every Stephen King adaptation, even like the Tommy
Knockers is pretty bad.
Pretty terrible.
With Jimmy Smits.
And the,
pretty
what was
bad.
the other one? Like the Walkers? No, the
Skinwalkers.
Or
Sleepwalkers.
Another terrible one. But
yeah,
but that's like how I got into it was Storm of the Century, so that'll always have a special place in my heart.
I love Storm of the Century as well.
That's a
phenomenal
crowd favorite.
And I think always, like for me too, I'm always, and all of us as being big horror fans now, like he's been so much at the forefront of the horror genre for so long that when he recommends something, whether it's like on Twitter, or I know he used to have like a weekly column in Entertainment Weekly where he would talk about, things that he was watching or things that he, liked or didn't like. When he recommended something, like that holds, or when he recommends something, that holds weight to me.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like he recommended The Descent so highly. Like, it might have been Twitter at that point was around or somewhere. One of the I'm not quoting, but like he said, it was one of the scariest movies he'd ever seen or in recent memory. And I remember I was like, you know what, this movie looks awesome anyway. I'm going to see it in the fucking theaters now, and that's now one of my probably top 20.
That probably was one of the scariest.
Honestly,
movies
probably
I've
one of the most viscerally scary movies I've ever seen.
The movie's frightening.
But I mean, still now, he's very active on Twitter, and despite the fact that he's getting up there in age, and he recommends shit like all the fucking time. So I'm like, when he does, because I follow him, I'm like, okay. Mental note, I have to watch this, whatever he's talking about right now. So, King's always out there. There's no shortage of Stephen King content to draw from.
There's a novel coming out, I think in September.
Yeah.
Fairy tale.
Now, I will say, and I don't mean to disparage anyone who might be picking anything like this in this upcoming draft, a lot of his newer stuff I'm not as much of a fan of. I feel like he has moved a lot away from the horror. He's doing a lot of like detective fiction, noir, which... I like that genre. My Stephen King, though, is the old school Stephen King stuff. Personally.
But I get why he would want to do that. He's
They're
probably
still
sick
very
of writing.
gritty.
How many horror novels are you going to write?
Like, you're still going to get the gruesomeness in the store. Like, you know what I mean? It's not going to be tame.
Yeah.
It's not supernatural for the most part or anything.
He can still knock your socks off. It's just, I feel like if I'm looking to read some Stephen King stuff, like, the best Stephen King novel that I've read out of his recent work was The Outsider. And I think the TV show was actually phenomenal to match. The Outsider was very, very good. But we may talk more about that later on. Who knows? Maybe somebody will pick it. Just a couple of things. Just so you know how much content we're dealing with here. By my count, there are at least 64 novels that Stephen King has written, 11 short story collections that contain over 200 short stories, 19 screenplays that he's written. There have been 87 movie adaptations, with more coming, countless more, 29 TV shows, 38 comic book adaptations, and probably the most interesting thing to me, the stories of Stephen King were almost turned twice into theme park attractions. One of the original plans, among many other things, for the Tower of Terror at Disney World was going to be a drop ride based on the stories of Stephen King.
Oh, that'd
and
be
King,
so awesome.
King said no. So they were working with King on an idea for that. It was at one point it was supposed to be themed to like Young Frankenstein, the Mel Brooks movie, and then it ultimately ended up landing on the Twilight Zone, which
that ride's
great.
awesome.
It's my favorite ride in the world. There was also talks for when Universal Orlando first opened that they were thinking about doing a dark ride based on Stephen King stuff, and there's actually some details out there. There's a Bloody Disgusting article on this that goes into a little bit more detail, but there was going to be a dark ride with at least the elevator blood scene from The Shining and a scene with an attack by Pennywise, which, I know he has said in the past that he's not keen on theme park stuff. He has been very reluctant to. There's never been a haunted attraction ever based on a Stephen King story or movie. Or actually, nope, not a movie. There was a haunted house based on Kubrick's The Shining, which he didn't have the rights to say no to that. So there's never been a direct adaptation of anything that he's had complete control over. So, again, a lot of Stephen King stuff to talk about here. So, with that being said, why don't we kind of jump right into the draft here?
Are we just going to take that one right off the table, though, like The Shining?
I think it would be kind of a cop-out for any of us to
I
pick The
don't
Shining,
feel,
don't you?
it's obviously amazing. We did an episode on it.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but I'm not going to pick it because I feel like everyone in the world has seen it.
There also, it needs to go as said, not all of us have read all of the books or seen all the movies.
Yep.
So,
I'm going from like the stuff that I have read personally.
I've read one Stephen King book, and at that. So
what is it?
The Gunslinger.
Okay.
I wasn't going to pick that one.
All right.
No, I'm not going to pick that either because I read it once and I can't remember.
Yeah, there's 6 books that follow it.
Yeah.
I am not
there's too many.
not a huge fan of the Dark Tower stuff. I can't really say that with any sort of experience. I have also read The Gunslinger. It wasn't my favorite, so I didn't continue.
Sarah read the whole thing twice.
I know you've said that she's a huge fan of it, so I would have loved to have talked to her about that.
That would have been her shining moment.
All right. So I just randomized our draft order here. We're going to go snake style, and the order is as follows. Matt has the number 1 overall pick, followed by me and Andrew, which means that Matt and Andrew both get 2 picks in a row. Gentlemen, I think, given that there's only 3 of us, we should probably pick at least 4 things, right? Okay. And again, anything's on the table. So, Matt, the floor is yours, my friend.
Creepshow.
You motherfucker! God damn it. The movie? Or the
movie.
Okay, yeah.
Right. I would call this a pinnacle in 80s horror cinema, for sure. He penned it. George A. Romero directed it.
And acted in it.
And he acted it. And what's his name? Jordy
Jordy Verrill.
Yeah. And,
meteor shit.
Meteor shit. That's the most depressing bit in the whole whole movie.
Yeah.
It's the shortest one too, I think. If not for the one with the doctor with the cockroaches. But
Yep.
My favorite one in the entire thing, and it's hard because they're all absolutely flawless. Each one of them is perfect. But I love the one with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson.
That one's so good.
Burying the guy at the beach.
Yep.
Dude,
great one.
See, that's one that as a little kid I'll always remember them coming to his door with their gurgled, waterlogged voices and shit. It's just so fucking good, and it's so Stephen King. It's so Stephen King short story-esque, because his short stories, he just has so much time to just scare the shit out of you and pack a punch, and it's fucking excellent, dude. And then The Crate is unbelievable, because you get
all-time monster.
Yeah, Tom Savini just absolutely rocks.
Yeah. I mean, the combination of Stephen King and George Romero, flawless. The fact that King, wrote all the stories or co-wrote all the stories, the practical effects are insane. The drawing from the EC Comics style of the 50s, which is right up my alley. I was actually listening to a podcast today with the guys that did the Tales from the Crypt TV series on HBO in the 90s. Mick Garris interviewed them recently on their show. It was awesome to listen to. I just love that aesthetic, and this movie just nails it for me. I'm so happy that it's been remade into a very good TV show now.
The TV show
and it certainly seems like they're going to continue doing that. But I mean, the OG movie, it's fucking impossible to beat.
The first episode of the show has Gray Matter, which is one of the scariest stories in Night Shift.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I'm aware of that.
So,
and
my
also,
first pick.
if I must say, Andrew, I did get you the most awesome Christmas present ever. Was that Creepshow T-shirt that I got you, which is awesome.
Is that super colorful,
yes.
neon one?
Yep.
Yeah, that one rocks.
Pretty dope.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Creepshow.
You can't go wrong with that. I could watch that over and over and over again.
Me too.
I am gonna go with a book as my first pick, and I would say that this was kind of what made me a fan into being obsessed. And it is, I believe, his 3rd short story collection. That's Skeleton. So Skeleton Crew contains The Mist, the original short story, among other stories that have been turned into film segments or are yet to be doing that. Also contains the Raft short story, Andrew, from Creepshow 2. Contains Survivor Type, which was turned into a Creepshow animated segment for the Creepshow TV series. This story called Cain Rose Up, which is a story very much ahead of its time, which tells, basically it's the ramblings from the point of view of a madman who shoots up a college campus.
Jesus.
Very, very eerie and weird and scary.
Bachman-esque.
Yes. The Monkey, which is an awesome demonic toy story, and then The Jaunt, which may be one of my all-time favorite Stephen King stories, which if you haven't heard of that one, I know you don't read a lot, but you've probably read the story. It's a short story. You need to read it. The fucking ending is so great. But it's,
do you own this book?
I do. I'll lend it to you.
Yeah, because I can read short stories.
Yeah, they're not, especially in that one. They're there might be some that are 30 pages.
Honestly, you can blow through each of these stories and really probably The Mist is long. It's the longest story in the whole collection, but you can blow through the rest of these stories in less than a half hour each. And the ending of The Jaunt is such a fucking jump kick to the nuts. It's unbelievable. They haven't made a good movie or a TV series out of it yet because I feel like it's kind of tough to do. But I mean, like I said, my kind of one of my original loves of Stephen King were through short stories, so I have to give some flowers to Skeleton Crew, which is my favorite of his short story collections. I mean, and again, The Mist. Hello, The Mist.
Right?
The Mist.
Hello.
Yeah, which the story's great. The ending is much, much different than the movie, which I don't know if the movie will come up at some point in this podcast. Totally still fair game, even though The Mist is part of this. But yeah, Skeleton Crew, one of my favorites.
I'll have to check it out. I would read that.
I'll give it to
Like,
you.
yeah,
Remind
if
me
have
before
it.
you leave tonight. I'll let you borrow it.
I could use some reading in my life.
Yeah. All right, Andrew. What do we got?
Well, seems like a good segue. Because I'm going to go right into it. The Mist will be
You
my first pick.
motherfucker. Yep.
Because I knew it wasn't going to probably make its way around.
I knew if I didn't
again.
take it, you were going to take it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Thomas Jane's phenomenal. That whole story is just so good. All the side characters, like, one of the most, like you said, the ending is completely different than the Stephen King short story. But that's one of the most devastating endings to any movie
Really brutal.
you could imagine. And, like, I think I had watched this movie a couple times. It took me, like, a few watchings to really appreciate this movie for what it is. It's just everything you want. It's like The Stand. It's like Storm of the Century. You get that group mentality where people just start to turn on each other, and you're trying to figure out who the actual monsters are. Is it them or is it creatures coming outside? They're basically one and the same, and it's just well done. I mean, I never watched the TV show. Did you ever watch the TV show?
it was terrible.
Yeah,
was
that's what
awful.
I heard.
It
So I
got
was like, never.
canned pretty quick, right?
It canceled after one season.
Was that on Spike TV?
It was on
Oh,
Spike
well, that's
TV.
not surprising.
Dude, it was complete bullshit.
Stick to 1,000 Ways to Die. Or
Right.
whatever it
Dude,
is.
essentially, all I'll tell you is that they removed the creatures, and the mist was like sentient.
Oh.
It like had a mind of its own, dude.
Why
it
are you
was,
fucking with that?
It was
Like,
fucking bogus, dude. It was
great,
terrible.
great
Oh,
monsters,
the best.
great
Yeah,
acting.
monsters are
You
wild.
get a lot of the same, actors that Stephen King loves. Obviously, Thomas Jane.
Thomas Jane.
What's his name? He was in Storm of the Century.
Jeffrey DeMunn.
Yeah.
Yep, he's in The Walking Dead too.
That Karen, who's the worst.
Marsha Gay Harden. Yep.
She's absolutely the worst.
She's pretty unfavorable in that role.
Yeah,
she's
that's
in.
like pretty much
She's a
her,
good
just, like-
actress, but
Yeah,
she's
but that's just
plays
her
shitty
role is
people
perfect.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that used to not be my favorite Stephen King movie. I think it has now become probably my favorite Stephen adaptation.
I think that's fair because again, everyone's seen The Shining, right?
Well, outside of The Shining.
I would say
Aside.
aside from The Shining and Creepshow, this is the best Stephen King movie that most people have not seen. This is a fantastic fucking
fair.
movie. I think it's. I mean, Misery's more mainstream
Like
than
about
this.
2007.
Stand by Me, Shawshank are all more mainstream than this. Like probably the average fan is not.
I'm thinking
seen
like
The
horror
Mist.
movies
Horror,
too,
yeah,
specifically.
yeah,
Well,
right.
that's what I'm.
Yeah.
gearing
Misery
this
is,
towards.
I would say,
Misery's
the
a
most
horror.
horror of the really
popular ones.
well, yeah.
Yeah,
Like Dolores Claiborne. That's.
Yeah.
I feel like a
yeah.
big
Drama.
But
yeah.
and I know we dedicated a whole episode to the Mist movie a while back, but like you said, typical King stuff. Who's really the monster? And the answer is we are, because if they had all been able to coexist and just stay inside, in the movie at least, they would have survived as the military came. So, great call on The Mist.
I knew you were going to take it. I was like, I'm taking it.
Yep. All right.
Well, he took Creepshow, and then I was like, and you did that, and I was like, okay,
Yep.
got a chance.
Okay. All right. So that means we're back to me.
No, it's me again.
Oh, it's
you
right.
guys
Oh, you
again.
got two in a row. Shit.
I wasn't ready for that. So I was thinking, I don't know if this is a cop. I've talked about like I feel like I've talked about these movies so many times, and should I do it again? But like I fucking love them. Like Thinner.
I knew you were gonna
I was
take
like,
Thinner.
I gotta
at
take
some
Thinner.
point.
It's such a cornball, cheesy adaptation, but it's like early '90s.
It's entertaining
It's
as hell.
so entertaining. You have Chaz Palmieri.
Chaz Palminteri, baby.
Palminteri,
Yeah, I love
He's
Chaz
fantastic.
Palminteri.
I don't know the main actor's name because he's like a
His name is Robert John Burke.
Robert John Burke.
He is a staple on like the Law and Order SVU TV
Yeah, he's
series
one of those
circuit.
type-
He's one of those guys.
This was definitely a made-for-TV movie, right? Or was this
No,
actually
this was
out? This was in
theatrical.
theaters. Maybe that's why. If this was like nowadays, it was like came out on like Hulu, or whatever. You'd be like,
Yeah.
it was a good Hulu movie. But it's just so. It's such a fucked up story, really. Like
Yeah.
I mean, with like the whole gypsy things and getting the fucking boathead. Just like,
So I don't know if
runs him
you,
over and, like-
if both you guys remember this, but when we went to BBC, the three of us, last Saturday, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before,
Yeah.
and we were talking to those guys at the bar, and you were telling them about the podcast, and we were talking about Stephen King stuff.
That guy brought up
and
Thinner.
Thinner came up, and I said that Thinner is potentially the worst possible outcome from getting a blowjob that you could ever have in
I
your
remember
entire
saying that,
life.
and
I remember he chuckled pretty hard. I was like, I like this guy. All right,
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah,
if you're
they were
listening,
cool.
yeah, but I mean, honestly, just trying to get a little bit of roadhead and fucking your life is destroyed.
Yeah, pretty much everybody you love is dead by the end of the movie. Like,
yeah, including yourself. You weigh like 40
you ate
pounds.
too much fucking strawberry breakfast.
Well,
pop. I
there's
didn't know
that
it was a thing, but-
that element of like him just eating everything and anything he sees, just like that gluttonous kind of like mentality that takes over to me is like really intense.
Yeah.
And it's one of the strong points in the movie in terms of what's so scary about it, because he just turns into a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know why he's losing weight. Like he could have so many things wrong with him.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, and
he's
just
like, I can eat whatever I want.
yeah. So there's just a really freaky bizarre element.
It's another movie that just like when I think of Stephen King, it just immediately pops into my.
Just
Because
that level
it's
of
just
crazy.
That level
Yeah.
of just like who comes up with this shit.
Stephen King.
Stephen King does.
Yep.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, good call. I had a feeling you were going to take Thinner. So
That was
fair game. Fair game. That's a deep cut. I bet you a lot of people don't know about.
Well,
Thinner.
that novel was released under Richard Bachman.
We'll say that's a Bachman
Oh,
book,
is
right?
it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Okay. I'm going to probably go with my most mainstream thing here, and I'm going to take with my second pick. I'm going to take the Dr. Sleep movie.
Ooh, delicious.
I still stand firmly on the fact that I think this is one of, if not the best horror movie of the last 5 years.
Flanagan, man.
Mike Flanagan, yeah. I mean, I just think the way that he was able to, take Kubrick's movie, King's book,
Respect
and
both of them.
respect both
Yeah.
of them and meld them together in a way that made Stephen King happy, despite how bitchy Stephen King has been about Kubrick's book for so fucking long. I think that's just a stroke, excuse me, of genius. And maybe that's more of a testament to Flanagan than it is to King. Matt, I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I still have not read the book.
Oh,
I know there are massive differences,
terrifying.
but
Yeah.
I think the movie is
Book is
great.
very scary.
I think the movie is actually terrifying.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
obviously, I think Rose the Hat, awesome villain. The True Knot, awesome gang of villains. Awesome, antagonists. I love Ewan McGregor as Danny Torrance. I love the fact that they didn't try and CGI all the old characters from the movie, and they got lookalikes to play Wendy Torrance and Dick Halloran and the lady in the bathtub and all of that stuff. And they recreated the sets from Kubrick's Overlook Hotel. Like, it was all done with such reverence and respect for the original source material, like the original book, the sequel book, Kubrick's movie. I just think it's a master stroke of filmmaking.
Was that Blumhouse?
I do not believe it was.
No.
I do not believe it was. I think it was Universal.
That was a mainstream.
Yeah.
I think.
I know Blumhouse does have some bangers. I feel like for sure this can't be a Blumhouse movie.
It better not be able to. That goes against everything I've ever said about Blumhouse.
right.
But that's just some movies Blumhouse does it. I'm like, oh, I do like.
But
that.
yeah, I think it's a I just think it's a
I think
masterpiece.
it is
It's a
Universal.
masterpiece. It's a
I mean,
masterpiece.
one of the most terrifying scenes in that movie is when they take that little poor kid that was playing baseball and they just fucking.
Horrible.
It's like you
Horrible
watch
shit.
it and you're like, oh my god, there's
Dude,
some
yeah,
just like
that's
it's
a
just
really
like-
rough part of the
because,
book.
like,
This is a
it's just-
mainstream horror sequel to The Shining, and they're doing
That's
this?
a movie I gotta rewatch again. That's
Dude,
that
I
movie
would
deserves
rewatch that
another
movie
watch.
anytime. And my one regret is that I missed it in theaters. I did not see it in theaters. I ran out of time, and the first time I watched it was actually down in the basement here with.
We all watched it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
Me, you, Kat, and Craig.
Yeah,
Yeah, and obviously I gushed about it on the podcast at the time, but I just think that
it's phenomenal.
it still has held the test of time for me. I love this movie so much, and I know other people have varying opinions on, but like I love Doctor Sleep so much.
We're not here to talk about other people.
Yeah.
We're here about-
Yeah, so Doctor Sleep is my second pick.
Good choice.
Yeah, Matt.
All right. I'm going to go with the novel Pet Cemetery. This is what I think the scariest Stephen King book I've read. It's the most upsetting. It's the most just deeply fucked up. It's pretty close. The movie stays pretty close. Did you read it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I read it a long time ago, but I reread it before the remake was coming out.
Yeah, I reread it in probably a year and a half ago.
And I feel like I was not... I didn't like fully grasp like how depressing the story was when I read it at a younger
Yeah.
age, and having read it as more of an adult, it was a fucking gut punch.
It's miserable. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just something very horrifying that has become so mainstream about people rising from the dead and coming back. But the way that the story has it, like you're bringing someone to this haunted burial ground and putting them there knowing they're going to come back, knowing they're not going to be the way that they were supposed to be, and just they come back. And it's like that whole setting that's built around it, going deep into the woods, the whole story where they, that, what's his face, Judd has to tell them about the guy who, like, the dad who had to bury his son in it, and he comes back and they had to burn the house. Like, it's just very, very fucking scary. And, like, just to think that just to be in that mindset that, like, you would be willing to do that. And it's just like, God, it's just fucking miserable.
Yeah.
But it's so well written, and it is just, the book flies by you, and like when you're reading it. I think I read it when I read it again a couple years ago or whatever.
It's short
a
for
week,
sure,
maybe
yeah.
tops.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call myself a total speed reader, but it's a doozy. So, and I do think the movie holds some good stuff true. Victor Pascow's character is beyond frightening.
The original, obviously, not the...
Yeah.
Just everything that there's just so many catalysts as to why this all ends up happening, and you just realize there is actually a universal driving force behind it. And it's not just like, why? Because in the movie, that's the one thing it lacks. You're like, what's this guy's fucking deal, dude? He
Yeah.
just told you not to do that. Why did you even bring it up?
And I
Like-
thought, so in the remake, I thought that they were going to tie more into that. They kind of
Yeah.
teased that they might, and they ended up not going there, and then they ended up just making a lesser version of the original one. I mean, my God, what a waste of John Lithgow, who's a
Yeah.
great fucking actor. The remake was a huge disappointment. But the original movie, the Mary Lambert version, is very, very good. And
Yeah,
the book
as cheesy as it is,
Oh, yeah,
it's
the
still-
book is
it's
deeply depressing and upsetting. Obviously, anytime you deal with the possibly the heaviest subject on earth, which is losing a child, it's tough to deal with. Deal with. So yeah, I remember him saying at one point that he had a tough time getting this book released.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even sure if he really wanted to because it was so dark, but he was like under pressure from, essentially his what's the term I'm looking for? Not his book label, or maybe that is, but like they needed his publisher. They needed something to put out, and he was like, well, I have this that I have finished, but it's like really fucked up. Oh, okay, we'll publish it.
Yeah,
and that became Pet Sematary.
I think he was quoted saying it was like he was nervous with himself mentally for like getting into that dark of a spot. So
yeah, and
understandable.
That says something for King, given how fucked up he was, like in the early '80s, like on drugs and alcohol, writing a lot of the shit that he did, which you can see in a lot of his writings. Oh yeah, I had a feeling you were going to take Pet Sematary at some point in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, well, I know I talked about the movie on one of the other drafts, so I wanted to at least give the other half its flowers because it's well deserved.
Of course.
I'm going to actually do another book for my next pick.
Okay.
I'm going to do The Dead Zone.
Ooh.
This book is sneakily one of my favorite Stephen King books. The story is fantastic. It's so well done. It's so suspenseful. And there's truly horrific, I'll call it, I guess, chapters in it, but like scenes that happen. The movie, the Cronenberg movie, is great, but things are changed and they're definitely softened. But everything that happens with him just pursuing this politician, what he has to do, how it all plays out at the end. Have you read it?
I have not read the book. I've seen
I don't
want
to spoil anything because it's like if you see the movie, you get the gist of it, but it's written so good. Very sad. It's a sad book, but dude, like the stuff with him telling the nurse that her house is on fire and she has to go, that's like kind of in the movie, but that part in the book is really, really intense. There's another thing in the movie, I know it's kids that go through ice on a hockey rink. Instead, it's a prom that catches on fire, which you're kind of like, does this have to do with Carrie? And but it's fucking nice. Very good. So that I would say it's not his scariest book, but it's story-wise, I think it's one of his best, most soundly constructed novels.
Okay.
Highly
recommend. Is that a long read? Short read?
It's probably 360. So
anything over 60 pages is long.
Well, I mean, it's like it's right around the same length as Pet Sematary.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously the movie's very good too. Cronenberg movie with Christopher Walken and Martin Sheen. And,
I picked that in one of the drafts.
Yeah, it's
the
very
80s draft.
very Cronenbergified. There's some crazy violence in it. And then I also we probably talked about this during your draft, but the parody skit that Christopher Walken did on SNL, where he was essentially the Dead Zone guy, but he was telling people just useless shit every time he grabbed them. That was so funny. Loved that. Loved that. All right, so the Dead Zone off the board. I have a decision to make here. I think that I am going to go... I mean, this is still on the board. I feel like I have to take it. I have to take another book, and I'm going to take Salem's Lot again because it's my favorite Stephen King book. I think it's the scariest Stephen King book, and I think to put it the way Stephen King did, he essentially wanted to write a story about if Count Dracula had, landed in America in the 70s, I think, when it was written. 70s? Yeah, because it came out in the late 70s. 74, mid-70s. And it's essentially that type of story. It is a Dracula story in America, in Maine. It's a lots of Stephen King stuff takes place in Maine. But I just think that there's not a lot now of vampire stuff that really scares me. And I don't know that there really ever has been a lot of vampire stuff that has scared me as much as Salem's Lot did the first time I read it. I mean, maybe the first time I saw Nosferatu, like the original silent film one, because it's so creepy and it's silent, and it's in black and white, and the monster design is so scary. Maybe the first time I saw Let Me In.
30 Days a Night.
30 Days a Night is pretty scary too, but not as scary. I mean, I feel like vampires are almost like zombies now, where it's like tough. They're so overexposed in pop culture, and a lot of them are portrayed as so sexy, it's tough to make them scary. Which, if you look back at the original Bram Stoker Dracula story, which I have read, and that is a very long, plodding read, let me tell you. Oh my God. Yeah. He is essentially, he's not Bela Lugosi. He's not this suave count. He is a monster. And that's, I think that when they tap into those aspects of that type of character, it makes it that much better. And I mean, you see in the Tobe Hooper miniseries.
Oh, I love that.
That's an really awesome vampire design.
Mm-hmm. All of them are.
Yeah, it's great.
Anyone that gets turned into one it's
great.
So fucking creepy looking.
Yeah, I love the Nosferatu style vampires, and it's very, very creepy. So I'm going to take Salem's Lot, and again, I am very much holding out hope that this new movie is going to be any good, because I held out the same level of hope for the Pet Sematary remake.
Theatrical release?
It is, and it got pushed from, it was supposed to be out in October,
that,
and I guess now it's getting pushed to February or March of next year. And the kid that plays Ben Mears is Bill Pullman's son. He was one of the sons in Outer Range.
Yeah, gotcha.
Who I like him as an actor, so okay, there's some talent there. I know one of the guys from Game of Thrones is playing Straker, so I'm holding out hope that it's not a total disaster. And God, please, I hope it. And James Wan is a producer on it, I believe. Not directing. I believe he's a producer.
Get some good jump scares, I bet.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm really hoping that it's good. So, yep, Salem's Lot, the book, off the board. Andrew.
I'm going to go with another Thomas Jane movie, because he's, for some reason, I'm going to go with 1922.
Oh, I thought you were going to go there.
I feel like that's a very under-the-radar Stephen King movie. See, I like period pieces, for some reason, it just draws me a little bit more. And this is just the ultimate story of just betrayal, regret. It's almost it reminds me of a Coen Brothers style movie, with just all the bad shit that happens based off of this one choice that he makes very early on, when he's a farmer, a lot of farmland in Nebraska, and his wife is sick of that life. She wants to sell the 100 acres of land that she got from her family, move to the big city. Yeah, speaking of the Pula part. She wants to sell it, move to the city, Omaha. I guess that's the city. Back kind of probably is.
That's where 311's from, the city.
So he basically convinces his son, your mom's not looking out for our best interests, so let's kill her. I mean, that's always a good decision. Let's kill her. So they kill her. They throw her in this unused well. And all these rats just start showing up. There's big themes. What was the other one with the graveyard shift? That's the other one with the rats, too.
I have some love for
That's
Graveyard
in Night Shift.
Night Shift, okay.
Yep.
But the story is Graveyard Shift.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that the collection? Night Shift? Yeah, so they murder his wife. People show up, but it's 1922, so you can pretty much get away with anything you want as long as you're not leaving a dead body or blood just always. So his son also has impregnated their fellow neighbor's daughter. They send her away to some, like, I don't know, church to just stay while she's pregnant so that she can give up the baby adoption. The kid lasts like 4 months before he's like, fuck this, I need to get her. I can't wait any longer. So they do like a Bonnie and Clyde thing where they run off. They end up both dying because of this. And then he ends up losing his farm regardless. He just goes like basically insane. Like he starts seeing his dead wife and there's just more and more rats. And it's just like another like, it's a very Stephen King style story where you made a bad decision and now it's just going to haunt you for the rest of your life. And I don't know, that was a Netflix original, I think.
It was.
Yeah. Then that was like, I mean, Netflix isn't known for much in the realms of like, I mean, it's kind of it's a horror movie.
That was in Full Dark, No Stars for the short story collection.
So that was a short story one too?
Yeah, I guess those are some of like the harshest, more modern stories that he's written in terms of like the short stories. They were pretty.
What year did those come out?
Within the last 10 years, I think.
Oh, okay, so those are fairly new.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was like a really well done movie. Great. I mean, Thomas Jane for some reason like he's never in like these really big movies. I feel like, but he's always like does a really good job. Like he's almost like a TV actor, and he does a phenomenal job. And I love the story in this movie. It's a little bit. I feel like this movie's long. I want to say it's over 2 hours, and I feel like it's a little plotting at times. But if you can get past that, if you enjoy that, it's kind of like compare it to something or two. I would say it's like a Coen brother, but like
I can get that.
Like it's got that just like that regret and revenge.
There
and
will be blood.
Stuff. Yeah,
no, that's not Coen Brothers, but
that's a great.
That's the kind of vibe I
get
from it.
Just like very long, kind of drawn out. But
the father son dynamic almost kind of reminded me a little bit of like Frailty, a little bit. If you've seen that movie,
that's an underrated movie.
Love that fucking movie. All right, so 1922 off the board. Also, Thomas Jane was a phenomenal Punisher, I thought.
He was the Punisher. I forgot that he was the Punisher.
Yeah, great voice for it. Good pipes.
That was before. Is that a Marvel or is that DC?
That was a Marvel.
That's Punisher's Marvel. Yeah,
that's before I hated Marvel movies.
That was like that was one of the first big Marvel movies.
That was like what 2006.
It was dude. I was in. It was before 2006 because I was in high school and I saw it in theaters.
Wow, that was that long. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I remember I was so impressed by how violent it was. I was like, holy shit. I think I was like I remember I saw it with a bunch of my buddies, and then we went to a house party after that and got loaded. So I had to have been like a junior or senior in high school. I was doing all that shit. So, all right, 1922 off the board, which means that we're back to me, correct?
No, it's me again.
Jesus, wait. Oh, that's right. You didn't pick two.
Yeah, this is your last pick.
This is my last pick. And I'm going to go with the guilty pleasure. Don't worry, Mike, you're not going to pick.
Okay.
Secret Window. I fucking love that movie. Johnny Depp's awesome in it. Timothy Hutton's great. It's such a fucking... John Turturro's amazing. It's just such a... It's a pretty stupid movie, if you really think about it. But it's... You stole my story. But I fucking love it. It's like... To me, it's like a newer age, like, Thinner. It's just...
Very paranoid.
It's just... He's, like, lost his mind. He's a writer. Yeah. And he's thinking that someone's trying to get him because you stole my story. Like... He's plagiarizing, but in reality, he's just lost his goddamn mind, and he stole his own story, and he's just killing people because his wife was cheating on him.
Yep.
It's a very basic plot, but Johnny Depp he's so good. I don't have much to say about that movie because I'm sure everybody's seen Secret Window, most people, I would think.
So I have read the short story, and I have also seen the movie, and I remember, I feel like this is one of the, a lot of Stephen King stories are about writers, right? So obviously, he's very clearly writing from his point of view. I feel like this is one of the more personal stories that he wrote. A couple things stuck out to me. I know he's been accused of plagiarizing stories a lot in his career, but obviously they're unfounded. He's insanely original in most cases, but certain stories are similar to other stories, but you have to also remember, a lot of stuff that he wrote has become so popular that it just influenced an entire genre. Another thing that I remember, too, so he used to be a very heavy smoker, Stephen King, and he quit. And Johnny Depp's character in the movie keeps, a spare pack or, one last cigarette, in his drawer, which I know that he has said, Stephen King himself, that he actually does as well. Because if, shit ever hits the fan that's going down, that's the last thing that he wants to do. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
So... Yeah, I definitely think it's not one of my favorite King movies, but it's got Johnny Depp and John Turturro I forgot about Timothy Hutton in that movie.
It's also one of the movies that I've probably, like, one of the Stephen King movies that I've probably watched, like that and Thinner. Whenever I see, if it's ever, like, when it's ever on, I'm watching it. Okay. I can't help myself. I don't know why.
Okay, fair enough.
It's an easy watch. That's what it is. It's not, there's nothing, you don't have to think about much. It's simple.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. It's just a good, easy movie to watch. Yeah. It's well done.
Sure.
It's not like 1922 is the complete opposite of that. Like, it's a great movie, but that you have to really devote time and energy in watching this.
Of course. So, okay.
Secret Window.
Secret Window. Short story called Secret Window, Secret Garden, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right, so that means that we're to me, and I did have one extremely big deep cut that I feel like I need to take because I put the effort into, watching it and remembering it. So, I'm a sucker for the X-Files. Always have been, always will be. And season 5 of the X-Files, which would have premiered in 1998, I would have been 13 years old, and this was peak, interest in Stephen King, interest in horror. The X-Files was fucking scary as shit at that time to be on TV. So whenever I heard that Stephen King was going to be writing an episode of the X-Files, which he did, and that episode is, it's season 5, episode 10, the episode's called Chinga, I was intrigued right off the bat. Now, it may not have aged as well as a lot of the X-Files episodes have not aged as well, because again, it's 90s network television. But I will die on the hill that the X-Files has some genuinely terrifying shit and very good stories to tell. Mulder and Scully are two iconic characters, and there are some great creature and monster effects in the X-Files. But basically, this episode, it's a Stephen King story through and through. He co-wrote it with Chris Carter, the creator of the X-Files, and it's Scully on vacation, where else but in Maine, and she basically catches wind of this situation where a mother, a daughter, are in a grocery store, and everybody else in the store, aside from them, tries to kill themselves all at the same time. So Scully finds out in the security cam footage that they're the only two that nothing happened to. One person died, and everybody else's eye started to bleed from their eyes uncontrollably. You come to find out that it is a witchcraft, creepy doll story, very much akin to like a Chucky story or something like that, where the little girl's doll has a mind of its own and is trying to kill these people. So it's like very Stephen King.
Wow.
But it's actually, it's
I've never seen this one.
Pretty good.
I was like, have I seen this? Nope.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a very complicated plot, but it's very much a Stephen King plot.
Oh, 100%.
So like I mentioned, he plays with like demonic objects, demonic toys all the time. So that's that short story, The Monkey, that's in Skeleton Crew that I talked about before. That's a demonic toy story that was like inspired episodes of inspired Goosebumps books and Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes and all kinds of shit. So it's out there. The plot is out there. I'm saying it's nothing new. It's nothing intriguing. But again, I'll never miss an opportunity to talk about the X-Files because I fucking love the show. What I will say, even though a lot of X-Files, hardcore fans may not find it to be one of the best episodes, which it's definitely not, probably one of the gorier episodes. I mean, you can tell it's definitely Stephen King writing it. There's some pretty fucked up gore in it. And X-Files pushed the boundaries for gory shit in the 90s, again, on network TV. I think it was on Friday nights at 9, but still like network TV shit. But they got away with a bunch of shit. So anyway, I'm saying my final pick is going to be the X-Files Season 5, Episode 10, called Chinga, which was written by Stephen King. So, how about that?
I like that. That's a deep cut.
All right, Maddie, what do we got?
All right, so I also have kind of a deep cut. It is a movie, and you guys might have seen it, but I'm going to go with a movie from 2004 by Mick Garris. From the short story collection, Everything's Eventual, I'm going to do Riding the Bullet.
Oh, nice.
So, this is a movie that when I was saying earlier, it was always on when I'd come home from school. 2004, I'm 11. And so seeing these movies on TV, well, this was probably on in 2005 and 6 after it had been released a little later. So probably 11, 12, maybe 13. And, I don't know. I just thought it was a really good ghost story. Basically what it's about, I think it takes place in the mid 70s, and this dude is trying to get to his mom who's been hospitalized. And it's his birthday, and he is just he has to hitchhike to get there, and basically he comes to find out that the guy he's hitchhiking with, who's picked him up, is actually dead. And so there's a lot of layers to this story. It's very I haven't read the short story. I'm not sure how long it is, but I imagine if it's going to provide all the information that the movie has, it's got to be upwards of at least 60 pages or so. So the story has a lot of layers. It's almost like an onion. There's a lot of things that are found out as the story goes on. There's a lot of flashbacks. There's a lot of dream sequences. So but David Arquette plays the dead driver, and he is at his David Arquette finest. He's very zany, but then he snaps back. Like, it's almost like this, like, Christian Bale, like, American Psycho kind of thing going on. Like, he's kind of all over the place. And there's just these great dream hallucination sequences with him in a graveyard and finding him, like, with no head. Because the guy dies in, like, a car accident, and he gets beheaded. And there's a lot of really good Mick Garris-style set pieces and frights. And it's like... To me, this is, like, some of the most top-tier Stephen King, just, like, goo that you can get into a movie, dude. Like, it has a lot of the best kind of shit like that. So,
dude, Mick Garris loves him some Stephen King.
Yeah.
Loves him some Stephen King.
Yeah.
So I mentioned his podcast earlier. We were talking about it. He's directed so much Stephen King shit.
Yep. He did The Stand.
Yeah, The Stand. He also did the Shining TV miniseries with Steven Weber as Jack Torrance. Not great. But, dude, yeah, Mick Garris loves Stephen King. He's done a ton of adaptations.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Riding the Bullet.
It's good. Andrew,
there's a lot of metaphors.
It sounds like
too.
A perfect movie.
It's a movie that you would like, and also it has Erica Christensen in it, which woo.
Who's she?
Oh, you'd know her if you saw her. Absolutely, Erica Christensen. Google her and get back to me.
Like a late '90s, early 2000s.
Absolutely.
Smoke show.
It's up there with like Jewel State, like of like the '90s girls that were in like TV shows that you love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think she wasn't in Swim Fan. I'm thinking of somebody else.
Jonathan Jackson plays the lead character, Alan.
Okay, what else is Erica
She
Christensen
was in Swim
been in?
Fan.
She was in Swim
Yeah,
Fan.
see, I never found her
Traffic.
attractive.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
I
that
love
is the
her.
Swim Fan girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's great. I think she's awesome. And she's in that movie. Riding the Bullet.
Yep.
Beauty.
So, yeah, I really... It's just one of those ones that it's always... Like, kind of what you said, like, with Thinner. It's like, yeah, if I see it on, I'm going to watch it.
You can't help
So,
yourself.
yeah, it's a really
Even
good
if it's
one.
not on, I'll find a way to watch it.
It's on, dude. It's on, like, definitely on Tubi. Or, like,
most
Pluto
likely.
TV. It's on something, like, exclusively for... So,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you guys have any honorable mentions that you were thinking about picking that you want to run through?
I have
I have
some
a couple. Yeah.
obvious honorables.
Okay, who'd like to start?
I would... There's just so many good short stories in Night Shift.
Yeah.
Between what's been made into movies, such as like the Graveyard Shift, the Children of the Corn. Sometimes they come back.
Yep.
And then there's other like the Mangler, even though that movie was trash.
Oh,
But,
the
like,
Mangler, dude. The Mangler, the Tobe Hooper movie, has one of the all-time gross-out scenes when that old lady gets pulled into that industrial fucking laundry machine. It is disgusting.
It's
she
just
just
one
gets
of those-
fucking
yeah.
flattened. It's gross.
It's just
But
one of
it's
those
so
things, like
stupid.
where what the short story is. It's just like I can't believe they were able to scrape together 90 minutes.
Dude,
of
at the end of the Mangler short story, the laundry machine gets up and leaves the factory and runs away.
Gets
It's
out
fucking
and like
wild.
leaves
Yeah.
Earth.
Fucking crazy.
And there's a few other ones that aren't movies. There's one called The Ledge, which is a really suspenseful story about a man forcing a guy. Basically, it's someone's having an affair and there's money involved, and he basically forces this guy on top. It's like a skyscraper that he has to walk along the ledge of this building and back, and he'll like give him the money and let him live.
I remember that one.
Which he's like clearly it's a lot like the story in Creepshow where you're like you've got this guy who's a millionaire and he's clearly done this crazy stunt killing people, burying them up to their head. So, but like you got to get through, and it's like the guy knows that there's these birds that are pecking. You only have like an inch of fucking ledge. Like,
oh shit,
really suspenseful, really good. There's one called The Smoking Method. I think that's what it's called. Or no, Quitters Inc. Quitters Inc. And it's a story about a guy who's trying to do everything he can to quit smoking cigarettes to the point that he's willing to shock his family and do things like this company comes in and kind of he signs something that forces him to do some pretty unspeakable things
We
without
talked
willing.
about for some reason.
I was talking about the 10 o'clock people a few weeks ago.
okay,
It's a very
that's what
similar
it is.
plot to They
Okay.
Live. Quitters Inc. is way different. I remember that story.
Yeah, that one was really heavy.
Interesting.
But like some of the notable ones, like Children of the Corn in that book is really, really fucked up. It's a lot like the movie is very tame compared to the story. Like it really, everyone they kill everybody. And Sometimes They Come Back is easily one of the best written ghost stories I've ever read. It is absolutely fucking chilling, dude. Like the way that is written and the kids one by one coming back to this guy's classroom as he's the teacher. It's just a perfect ghost story.
Very good one.
Yeah, so I like Night Shift a lot. Just other movies for sure. I love the Salem's Lot miniseries, and then those are my big two headers for sure for honorable mention.
Okay. For
I could
books,
go on.
For
Yeah.
books, I had
on.
Cycle of the Werewolf, which was made into the Silver Bullet movie with fucking Corey
Gary
Haim and Gary Busey. Movie is a whole bunch of 80s cheese, but I have love for it. But the book, we talked about this on Future of Horror. I think it would make a great mini-series that could be redone as like a more serious horror comedy type thing. Also, not one of his more well-received books, but I read it in high school and I liked it because I love alien horror shit. Dreamcatcher. It's a weird book. He was clearly very fucked up on drugs after he got hit by that car and almost died. So there's some very weird concepts in there, but there's also some very scary stuff.
Ties into It as
I
well.
kind of feel like that movie is due for a retry. Like it wasn't terrible.
I don't hate that movie.
I
I
don't
don't
hate
enjoy
that.
it a
I don't
lot.
hate that movie. I kind of like it.
It's a good cast.
Doesn't that have that guy in it too? Or
Thomas
I think
Jane.
Yeah.
He might be in that.
Thomas
too.
Jane is in it.
Yeah.
Again.
Thomas Jane, Damian Lewis,
Yep.
Timothy Oliphant, Jason
Yeah.
Lee,
Yep.
Morgan Freeman,
Great.
Tom Sizemore,
Yeah. Listen,
Donnie Wahlberg.
I gotta rewatch that movie.
Yeah.
I haven't
Hell
watched
of a
that movie
cast.
in about 20 years.
I mean, there's some corny shit in there, but I would say the first almost hour in the movie, when you don't know what's going on, and that guy wanders into the cabin and he's farting uncontrollably and is going
Kind
to
of
the
like
bathroom.
The Thing almost.
It's got some good
Little
body
bit.
horror for sure.
Thing.
I remember, that when the movie came out, I remember seeing a quote from the director of the movie, who I don't know what his name was. He said, "I am hoping to do for the toilet what Jaws did for the ocean." I fucking died laughing so hard. Like, okay, I got you, bro. I mean,
That's
hey. I mean, I thought twice about
Dude, you
taking
can
a shit
fucking ruin the
after
ocean,
watching
but don't
that.
you goddamn ruin the toilet.
Yeah.
That is my favorite place. Let's not fuck that up.
So I feel like I've talked about them a lot, but for movies, It Chapter 1 and 2, I've talked about those a lot. But for deeper cuts, you talked about Netflix Stephen King movies, and I feel like Gerald's Game flies under the radar quite
Gerald's
a bit.
Game is very good. That's
very,
Flanagan.
very, very good. Also Mike Flanagan. But if you want a really, really deep 80s cut, watch The Night Flyer.
Yeah.
Which has...
That even might be like 1990.
It might be 90s. It's got Miguel Ferrer is the main character, which he's one of those guys. He was in Blank Check.
Everything,
Like, you'd
dude.
know him if you saw him. And the basic
That was
plot
97.
is there's a serial killer that flies a single-engine Cessna plane around, and this character...
Oh, yeah.
He is trying to catch this serial killer. He's a reporter for like a tabloid. And the rumor is that this character is a vampire. So he's flying around to different airports where murders have occurred trying to catch this killer. And let's just say he does. And it's fucking corny and cheesy as fuck, but there's actually some very good shit in it. It's called The Night Flyer. The short story's very good. I believe that is also in Night Shift. Or if not, it's in Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Might be in Nightmares and Dreamscapes. And then also the only other thing that I had was the Outsider TV series.
Awesome.
Yeah, great stuff. So, did you have some honorable mentions?
I have honorable mentions, and they're not even really honorable mentions. I've just talked about them before on the podcast, and I didn't feel like doing the same and over again.
Yeah.
So these may have a higher ranking than what I picked, but real quick, The Dark Half, awesome movie.
I know you love the Dark Half.
Timothy
Yeah.
Hutton
Yep.
again.
Yep.
Like Storm of the Century.
I can't believe. I'm surprised you didn't pick
Because
that.
I've talked about it.
Yeah, I
before,
know.
and
I know.
I
It's
don't
so
wanna
good
talk-
though.
I don't want to talk about the same thing.
It is so
over
good.
and over
It's
again.
so good.
The Dead Zone, obviously. I almost picked, because I think I could have done it, from Creepshow 2, just the segment.
The Raft.
I could have picked that, The Outsider, obviously, I would have picked too. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Still waiting for a good adaptation of The Gunslinger, but that's okay, because...
Well, supposedly there was talk that it was going to be remade into an Amazon TV series, which I feel like it's much more tailored for a TV series than it is for a movie. I mean, that McConaughey Idris Elba movie, if you can't turn a movie with those two actors in it
Then
into a
what's
good
going
movie,
on?
then what in fuck's name?
At least get some
lomstrosities
monstrosities going on in there. Come on,
Yeah,
fucking
I love Idris Elba. I love McConaughey. McConaughey was fresh off of True Detective when they did that. I'm all on board. The Idris Elba as James Bond train. I would fucking love to see him as James Bond.
I kind of secretly want to see that lion movie that he's in, Beast.
Beast? Oh,
That
that looks pretty good.
I just want to see him punch
Dude,
the lion.
and it has, well, not only does it have him, it has, what's his fucking name from District 9?
Yeah.
Shit, what's his name? Oh my god, that's going to drive me insane. He's always in, like, the Neil
I know
Blomkamp
who you're
movies.
talking about,
Oh, Matt's going to pull it up right now. It's going to drive me insane. What's his fucking name?
But
it's okay.
Beast, that's like your
That actually
summer
looks pretty good.
blockbuster.
Like, I would see that movie. I would see that movie for sure.
Charlton Copley.
Charlton Copley. Yes, that's his name. He's South African. Yes. All right, guys. Anything else about Stephen King before we say good evening?
The dude rocks, man.
He's
the
the king of
all of
Stevens.
it. Yeah.
King of horror, man. There's a reason.
Oh, that Night Flyer. It actually came from a multi-author anthology called Prime Evil: New Stories by the Masters of Modern Horror.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, if we have nothing further on Stephen King, all I have left to say, you guys, is here's where you can find our podcast. And spoiler alert, wherever you're listening right now, you can listen to us next week. But we're also on all the other popular podcast platforms. If you decide to switch, including Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, and wherever else you may get your podcasts. My name is Mike. I'm your host. And I've been joined by my fellow scholarly gentlemen, Matt and Andrew, on this awesome draft
Scholarly.
that we have done. Gentlemen, say goodbye to your audience. A good evening.
Good evening.
Bye.
Goodbye.
I said it before I did. Damn it.
And we look forward to talking to you next week. Good evening. Now we say it too much. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and just wanted to say thank you again for listening to another episode of our show, because of course, we would be nothing without you listeners. If you are interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I would highly recommend you check out some shows by our cohorts on the Inebriart Podcast Network. That's right, the Inebriart Podcast Network, folks. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find the Inebriart Podcast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, Retro Redoctopus, and Old Colony Cast. Head on over and give them a listen.